Democrats are just asking for one more miracle from you, winning a Senate seat in the Republican state of Montana.
We're on the right track to do exactly that, Lawrence. Look, the people of Montana know me. The ones that are moving in or who have moved in over the last few years are getting to know me. They understand that I'm a lifelong Montanan. And my wife and I get to farm the land that my grandparents homesteaded, which is an incredible honor. And basically have lived within 100 miles of where I was born my entire life. And so I understand real issues. I understand issues around freedom. I understand issues around health care and public lands and distance and all those things that are important to Montanans. The other thing I will say is this: Montana's changing. And a lot of Montanans don't want to see our state change. It is the greatest state in the greatest country that's ever existed. That's my opinion, and I believe that to my bones. But the bottom line is it's the greatest state because we've had people in Washington, D.C. that have understood Montana values and have understood that your handshake means something and your word is your bond. And that's why we're going to win this race.
So I just heard your opponent say on that tape about abortion. I find abortion to be a terrible, terrible thing. I want it all to end tomorrow. That's all abortion, everywhere, every state.
And that's what he believes. The bottom line is, and I watched the previous segment with Reverend Warnock, the bottom line is this is an issue that's too important to have the government at any level, or a judge, or a bureaucrat, or a U.S. senator telling women what decisions they need to make. This decision should be left up to the woman and her medical professionals, and there is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We need to have Roe restored so that women have this freedom back. The repealing of Roe was probably the biggest elimination of freedom in my lifetime. And I will tell you, I don't think that's what Montanans want, because we got Democrats and Republicans in Montana, but they're all libertarians. They all love freedom. None of them want the government telling them how to live their lives.
So that's an interesting point about Montana values and freedom and libertarianism, which is a strong streak up there, is that you could go back years in Democratic politics especially. I can remember when I was working in the Senate, we had a Democratic Senator, Max Baucus, getting himself reelected in Montana. It wasn't easy then. But Democrats running in those kinds of states stayed away from subjects like abortion. They didn't want to be associated with the Democratic Party position on a bunch of issues, which they supported in Washington, but they just didn't want to draw attention to it in conservative states. It seems like something has changed on this subject.
Yeah, Supreme Court decision that repealed Roe and took away our women's rights to make their own health care decisions. And I think it's woke up a bunch of people in the state of Montana. You know, abortion is not a simple issue. It's an incredibly difficult decision, and people have to make these decisions. My heart goes out to them. But the bottom line is, Washington, D.C., or state capitals, or judges, they shouldn't be making these decisions. They're too important. Truthfully, only the women and their doctor knows what these people are going through. Only those people know what the risks are under. And that's where the decision should lie. And I think what's changed, you're right, nobody likes to talk about abortion. But the truth is this is a freedom that's been taken away. And people say, that ain't right. And we've got the ballot initiative. You showed the clip of the rally that we had, and people are fired up about this, and they're fired up because we like the old Montana. We don't want a Montana that's being changed by Washington, D.C. or somebody from out of state that's running for the United States Senate. We want the Montana values that we grew up with. We want Montana to be the state that we grew up with.